want y'all to keep in mind that we building on top of the things that we've been going over for the past few weeks. So next question is, it might seem like it's the same question, but it's a little bit nuanced and it's a little bit different in light of what we've been going over. Have you ever wrestled with the Torah? And remember, that might not necessarily be the same thing as wrestling with your conscience, right? They work together, but it might not necessarily be the same. Because there might be some things that, as far as your conscience is concerned, you are okay with. But the Torah is not okay with, right? So, for instance, how many of us, before coming into this walk, we had a diet that didn't necessarily reflect Torah, right? Like, when it came to a pig, I mean, my grandma used to say, from the rooter to the tutor. Like, it's not one part of the pig that I don't know how to cook or eat. You know what I mean? Like, all the way from the chitlins to the feet to the ears to the snout to, I mean, everything. Like, my grandparents, my family come from the South, so you know how that goes. My conscience never bothered me, right? That was just all we do. We eat, and that's, you know, what we know. So my conscience would never bother me eating it. It was only once I received Torah that became a problem, right? Where it's like, no, you can't eat this way. Torah says this, but my conscience never would have convicted me otherwise, right? The same vice versa, it can be things that you might learn is right, and there's a way that you're supposed to do things, but then Torah now comes, and now you like having this conflict of interest between your natural conscience and what Torah is saying, right? And that even works in the reverse, because how many of us have had things that are not wrong according to Torah, but because it was something that we was taught, right? Like, you have to be in Sunday church every Sunday in order to be pleasing in the sight of Yah, right? Is that founded in this Torah, or is that just something that my conscience is now struggling and warring with coming out of because this has been programmed into me, right? So that's why I'm asking, have you ever wrestled with something that was in the Torah, in His Word? It might not necessarily be the same as an issue with your conscience. And then, have you ever wrestled with the Ruach? Again, some similarities and some overlap, but like I said, they're all three different things that are coming together to try to work together to help you as you go through. Have you ever wrestled with something? Wrestle with the Ruach, right? Sometimes there are things that are not explicitly a thing, a matter of what is written in the Torah, but sometimes the Ruach now is letting you know something very specific for your life in that moment, right? Go and deal with this sister, go and deal with this brother, right? This person is in need of help. Okay, Torah says X, Y, Z, we get that. But sometimes, like Mashiach says, he said if you get asked to go 1 mile, what you supposed to do? Go 2, right? So that extra mile is an extra mile. It's not necessarily like if I want to reason my way out of it, I can say, well, no, Torah, all Torah says is I got to do this, and as long as I do this, I am good, right? But then the Ruach is like, nah, go the extra mile, right? So then what? Now you might find it might be something that you might be warned with that the Ruach is specifically leading and guiding you, but which fundamentally, again, when we're talking about the Ruach and Torah, they definitely gonna be on one accord. It's really trying to elevate you in keeping the Torah. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're gonna see. When we're talking about the heart, it has a way of wanting to try to weasel its way out of what it doesn't want to do. And it has a way of trying to weasel itself into doing what it wants to do. Right? So, quick recap. Did anybody want to answer any of those questions before we move on? If not, we can move on.
It appears to me that people have to come to terms with being submissive to the Spirit. You know, it seems as if you're from a natural aspect of it, you want to maintain what you think is right, but you haven't yet submitted to the Messiah. So you're going to have this struggle between what you think is right and what the Messiah and the Ruach is trying to show you. So you got to at some point in time, you just got to be submissive and trust the word.
Praises. That's excellent. All praises. So, quick recap. We saw the two ways, right? Y'all remember we looked at the two ways. Two ways presented before all of mankind, right? And as we live, our decisions are either going to be pulling from one way or the other, right? Dead Sea Scrolls 4QS 425, it says, until now the spirits of truth and justice struggle in the hearts of men, and they walk in both wisdom and folly. According to his portion of truth, so does a man hate injustice, and according to his inheritance in the realm of injustice, so is he wicked, and so hates truth. For Elohim has established the two spirits in equal measure until the determined end and until the renewal, and he knows the reward of their deeds from all eternity. He has allotted them to the children of men, that they may know good and evil, and that the destiny of all the living may be according to the spirit within them at the time of the visitation. Right, so we know that there are these two ways that are set before mankind, and that we'll choose from one side or the other every time we make a decision. We good on that, right? Then we looked at the fact that we all have a conscience, right? Like as mankind, we all have a conscience, but that the conscience is limited in what it can do, right? So because of this limitation, Israel was given the word of Elohim. So Romans 2:14, for when the nations who do not have the Torah by nature do what is in the Torah, although not having the Torah, they are Torah unto themselves, who show the work of the Torah written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness in between themselves, their thoughts accusing or even excusing, in the day when Elohim shall judge the secrets of men through Yahushua HaMashiach according to our good news. Right? So in that we see that all mankind has a conscience. We're all designed with a conscience. Whether we are of Israel or not of Israel, like that's just part of the build of human. Right? We all got a conscience leading us one way or another. But then we know that the conscience again is limited. Because just like I was just saying, there might be some things that your conscience don't have a problem with, but that don't necessarily mean that the Father is in agreement with. Right? Like the conscience usually is kind of good with dealing with extremes, but nuance, not so much. Right? Like there's a part of it, okay, if I want to go and kill somebody, it don't really matter who it is or what nation, right? They all have that in their law book. Murder is wrong, right? Like the extremes is kind of good with dealing with, but then when we start getting more nuanced things, that's where conscience can kind of become a little bit dull, right? Romans 3:1, we saw that there was a need for the Torah where the conscience kind of leaves off and hands off the baton to the Torah, right, to the word. What then is the advantage of the Yahudi? Or what is the value of circumcision? Right? If everybody has this conscience and everybody has something telling them the difference between right and wrong, then why do we need the written word? Right? He says, well, much in every way, because firstly, indeed, that they were entrusted with the words of Elohim. Right? These King James will call it these oracles. Right? So this is we benefit much in every way because where the conscience can't do certain things, okay, the written word is supposed to clear that up. So now those things, when it comes to being pleasing in the sight of Elohim, that we might not necessarily have gotten just naturally in us, i.e., I use the example of the dieting, right? Now we know. So we benefit much in every way. It's not a mystery for us, right? But then we saw that the written word has some limitations, right? And it can only go so far. And really what we're looking at is should be enough. But then we found out, like, Shaul was, there was a part that was added to the Torah because of sin, right? We saw Mashiach saying it, like, no, well, this ought not to be, but because of the hardness of your hearts, Moses had to add this to it to clarify some things, right? So, again, the heart.
I just want to point out that God didn't add to it. It was Moses that added to it. No, I was just saying, I just want to point out, just like you just said, it was not his oracle. Moshe had to come up with this oracle because of the hardness of the hearts of the men. It was creating issue between Yah and the truth and the family. It was it was a part of it, was destroying it. So he had to come up with this because men were just being hard headed.
Like if in a sense, if we would have just
Am I answering what earnest means? Or?
Yeah, well, what I was asking is, what does it mean when it said that we're given the earnest of the Ruach? But the answer in that is in that word earnest. So, yeah.
Like the willingness, like the connection of the Holy Spirit, right? The Ruach is what we're giving.
Okay, all praises. Okay. So, that's one meaning of the word earnest, absolutely. Yeah, sincerity, that's one meaning of the word earnest.
I want to go with where you're at in your level of your consciousness, what you already earned through your studying and your submission to the Most High.
Okay. Anybody else?
You're going to really feel that conviction. Like it's like an intense type feeling. Like you're going to, if you say that you are Yahuwah's and you're doing all that you are supposed to be doing, you're gonna hear it if you are his. So it's like an intense type conviction type thing.
Okay. Everybody got good answers, but the question again, it comes down to what is meant by that word earnest, right? So we're gonna see. This is a technical term, right? Y'all all right with the meaning of earnest, but that is not that word earnest. That's not how that word is being used. All right, so we're gonna see. So it's a G728 Arabon, which is of Hebrew origin, H6162 pledge. Right, so that is part of the purchase money or property. All praises. So that is part of the purchase money or property given in advance as security for the rest. Earnest. All right, so has anybody ever purchased a house? Like you go and get a mortgage and they call that money that they ask you, like in the beginning of the process, they call it what? Earnest money, right? This is how this term is being used with in terms of the Ruach. Hey, Elder, can you bump this mic up just a little bit? We good? Oh, much better. Toda. So H6162, Arabon, from 6148, in the sense of exchange upon giving as security or pledge. So I'm gonna go back when we're looking at this. How are we looking at this now?
It sounds like it could be also exchanged with the word seal.
Okay.
So it's almost like you could, I guess, replace it with and give it the seal of the Ruach in our hearts.
Okay.
So that's what it reads to me.
Okay.
It's almost like it's like that. I wouldn't say definite, but like a definite spot for everlasting life.
Okay. All praises.
It's like right there, Mashiach with the price he paid, the down payment for the bride, the dowry.
All praises. So if it's a earnest of the Ruach, do we have it in its fullness? If we've received the earnest of the Ruach, have we received the Ruach in its fullness? Like, do we have it in totality? Is it not totally yet, right? So that's what this is saying, is that we have a portion, right? We getting a seal right now, like, yeah. But now you wonder why, for instance, there might be Mashiach. He had it without measure, right? So he didn't have just a portion of the Ruach. He had the Ruach in totality. And so you see, was there ever a situation where it was something that he couldn't do? No, because he got the Ruach in with full measure, full force, right? But then you see his disciples coming behind him, and they asking the question, well, why couldn't we do this? You're like, you little faith. You can't tap in. Y'all got a smaller measure of this thing.
That's what I was thinking about. Like, as far as you see Yeshua, he had it all. There was nothing that he couldn't do. He wasn't bound by anything. But that's what's going to happen when you become spirit. Looking into the future. And that's what it's going to. That's what it's going to be. Become spirit.
There we go.
When you showed the definition of earnest, like with property, like when you buy property, you have it, but you got to keep paying property taxes. So it's like we always have to keep showing ourselves, keep trying, and being the best we can do, even with setbacks, to prove ourselves.
All praises. Like you got your name is on a list, right? Like you got the Ruach, you got a seal on you. You don't have it in its full measure, but you got it. You got a portion of it. Help you in this until you get to ownership, right? Glory to glory, right? Glory to glory. So earnest money, so also known as good faith deposit, and these are financial terms that they use in the financial system, right? Is a sum of money a potential home buyer provides to a seller to show that they are serious about purchasing a property. It's typically a percentage of the purchase price, usually 1 to 3%, or a fixed amount, and is held in an escrow account until the sale closes. The earnest money demonstrates the buyer's commitment to the purchase and can be applied towards the down payment or closing costs if the sale is finalized. So if the sale falls through due to specific contingencies outlined in a purchase agreement, like a failed inspection or inability to secure financing, the buyer may be able to get the earnest money refunded. So now, earnest money is a deposit made to a seller that represents a buyer's good faith to make a purchase, such as the acquisition of a new home, right? So now, I want us to think about how this all works in a spiritual sense, right? We're trying to get citizenship in the kingdom. We're trying to get a place in this in the Father's house, if you will, right? His house is a house of many mansions, right? Many rooms, many large rooms, and we're trying to get a place there. Well, are you going to be able to get into the kingdom without the seal of the Ruach? No, right? Go. Gotcha. Toda. At this point, I've come to realize it's going to do it at least once. All right, we should be coming back up any minute. You good to go? All praises. Okay, all praises. So, train of thought. We trying to get citizenship into the kingdom, right? The Ruach is basically serving. We getting an earnest or a down payment, if you will, of the Ruach. It's granting us we gonna make some payments on this thing until we can get the fullness, right? Basically, is how you can look at it. Like glory to glory, we going day by day, hopefully getting better in this thing until one day, like it says in Jeremiah 31, like a change is going to happen where this body is going to be made new, and then now we're going to have to be able to have the Ruach in its full measure. But that's not something that necessarily happens in this form, right? So 2 Corinthians 5:1, it says, "For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved," what is he talking about? Say it again. Your body, your flesh, right? Again, all of this is like in terms of a home, all of that. It says, for we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of Yah, a house not made with hands, eternal in the Shamayim. For in this we groan, earnestly desiring, and then ironically, this is the other meaning of earnest, right? So this is the sincerity part of earnest. So earnestly desiring to be clothed upon with our house, which is from Shamayim, right? So there's a putting on of a new form of a new body, right? If so that being clothed, we shall not be found naked. For we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened. For not for that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon, that mortality might be swallowed up of life, right? So this body still dies, right? And because of the frailty of this form that we in, he's saying, look, man, it comes with groaning, right? Like this life right here can sometimes be a struggle. Within, it can sometimes be a struggle. Forget about the external that makes that even more difficult, right? Sometimes it is an old movie with Richard Pryor called Which Way Is Up? Like sometimes it's hard to just see like, man, which way is up, right? It can get like that sometimes in life. So with that, like he said, it's some groaning. We groaning it. We looking forward to that day. But until then, he says, now he that has wrought us for the selfsame thing is Yahuwah, who also has given unto us the earnest of the Ruach, right? Therefore, we are always confident. So now he's giving us a portion of this Ruach, and he's giving us something to look forward to, right? Knowing that while we are at home in the body, we are absent from Yahuwah, for we walk by belief, not by sight. So why am I bringing all of this up? Because we're trying to find oneness in ourselves, right? So the question becomes, so then what do we do in the meantime until we get to that point that we're looking forward to? Do we just continue to struggle with this thing and feel like which way is up? Is it possible that we can attain some level of peace while still in this body, still in this form until we get to the fullness thereof? Like, that's what I'm asking. Anybody got a mic, Sister D? Tell that, Michael.
Now we have to put in the works. We have the faith. We have one foot in the door, and now it's time to work.
All praises. So to add on to that, does knowing what you're working towards, does that make getting up and going to work a little bit easier? It should, right? Like Ecclesiastes talks about the state of a man when he's basically done, he didn't leave no stone unturned. He got up, he worked, and then he received the fruit of his labor, right? And it's nothing more pleasant than when a man can receive the fruit of his labor, right? Like, it's something good about that. Something you feel accomplished. And that knowing that man, if I just keep on working and keep on pushing through the day, eventually the day is going to be over with and I'm going to receive the reward, right? So it should make it a little bit easier for us. And the reason why I'm bringing all of this out is because that one key point is going to be one of the things that can either make or break you when it comes to dealing with your heart, right? Because your heart is like J.G. Wentworth. Like, it's my money and I want it now, right? Like, your heart is not really geared towards thinking about a future goal. It's only thinking about right now. This is why, again, like he said, you have to direct your heart not after carnal matters, but after the things of the Spirit. Because if you don't, it's just like what Mashiach said in Matthew with the seed being sown on different types of ground.
The cares of the world definitely can choke it up out of you. So, moving on, he says, we are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with El Yahuwah. And then now keep in mind, this is Shaul talking. He faced a whole lot of things where his life was being put on the line, right? Like, well, he had been able to do that without keeping in mind the goal and what the reward was for what he was doing. If you lose sight of that, then you don't have a problem, right? It might not be worthwhile. It says, wherefore we labor, or we work, that whether present or absent, we may be accepted of him. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Mashiach, that everyone may receive the things done in his body. So now, again, like I said, we're talking about oneness in yourself. We're talking about this war being waged between your flesh, between the spirit. You got to have something to be able to look forward to and hang on to when times get tough. Because otherwise, the flesh is just going to say, forget it, right? Make our belly our Elohim. We might as well eat to the full, because tomorrow we're going to die, right? He says, everyone may receive the things done in his body according to that he has done, whether it be good or bad. Knowing therefore the fear of Yahuwah, we persuade men, but we are made manifest unto Yah, and I trust also that you are made manifest in your what? In your conscience. So, again, you don't see how all of these things are working together, but even with all of that, the heart is still so set on doing what it wants to do in that moment that you got to have your mindset on a goal, right? You got to, because if you don't, times get tough, you might just remove yourself from the whole situation altogether. And then that ends up leading you straight into the lake, right? So all of these things function within us to bring us into a state of oneness, but the issue is we still have a heart/mind that doesn't have an issue with taking and storing things from both paths. It picks up things along the paths, and it doesn't like to let things go once it has taken a liking to them, right? So y'all understand that me and Ryan was talking about this last week. A song can come on, right? And then that song been done stop playing, and it still keep coming back in your head, You're like, man, I don't even like that song. I wish it could just stop playing in my head. Right. But again, your heart/mind, the way that it's designed, is gonna pick things up along the way and hold on to things, whether you want it to or not. Like, that's just the nature of how we're designed. Again, your heart stores things. Luke 6:45, the good man brings forth what is good out of the good treasure of his heart, and the wicked man brings forth what is wicked out of the wicked treasure of his heart. For out of the overflow of the heart, his mouth speaks. Your heart stores up stuff. So that means what for us? We better be watching what comes in and what comes out of it, right? Psalm 119:11, I have treasured up your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. Your heart is a container. Just keep that in mind. Y'all seen Lord of the Rings? Smeagol. Y'all know, like, both of those was the same. That's the same person. Like, that's what he was. Then he got a hold of the ring, and it, like, turned him into that. Right? Turned him into an unrecognizable monster, right? In the same way, what I want us to see is that, like, your heart, it can hold on to things and turn you into something something unrecognizable, right? So you got to be careful with what you even touch, what you even allow your heart to be drawn to, your mind to come across. praises. So the senses are like doors that connect to the heart: seeing, hearing, feeling, touch, taste, smell, right? Like we all understand that. Matthew 6:21, for where your treasure is, there your heart shall also be, right? So the lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore the eye is good, all of your body shall be enlightened. But if your eye is evil, all of your body shall be darkened. If then the light that is within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? Right? So your senses have it's like a direct portal into your heart. Right? So now I'm going to step away from this for a second, and I just want to ask. I'm going to just ask the question. How mindful are you of what walks through the gates? What you listen to, what you watch, what you eat, because all of these things can affect your heart, right? Have we ever really considered that? Like even something as simple as an incorrect diet can throw you off. Now you're irritable. Now you acting in a way that you don't normally act because stuff is off in your vessel, right? You can see something, and then now, just like with Eve, right? When she saw that the fruit was good for this, good for that, now she can't shake that thing. And now it's in her heart, right? What you hear. I just gave the example with the song, right? How many on the flip side of that have we been in a situation where it's like, man, that song right there got me through tough times. It was just a song. You don't even know the person that made it. It was just a song. But for you, it was able to connect with your heart in a way that was necessary for you in that moment, right? So the things that you hear, things that you see, all the stuff that you interact with, that's how things get into your heart, right? And then keep in mind that we live in a day and age where it's not very difficult. There is no limitation on what can be brought into the heart, right? You can listen to anything you want to listen to. You can watch anything you want to watch. It's 12 million social media apps and 12 million streaming platforms into infinity, right? Free ones, paid ones, you name it. Anything? Go ahead.
A couple of weeks ago, I opened up an Instagram account and I deleted it. And it wasn't even a thing of you searching for something. It just was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my boys, I was like, I don't need to be seeing all these women
Mm-hmm.
have dressed. So now, if I allow to go through my gates, and now so that's just an example of seeing it and knowing to, I gotta cut this off.
Mm-hmm. All praises. And then keep in mind that the enemy is aware of this and that this stuff is designed in a way. Like they have algorithms and they have things that are designed in a way to get in your heart. Like that's what they're after. They're trying to get in your mind. They're trying to get in your heart, right? So that they can then suggestively control you, manipulate you, right? Like, oh, if we just show this over here, he might not buy it right now, right? But he might buy it later, right? Like this stuff is designed in a way with all kinds of stuff built into the system to get access to your heart. So again, my caution is just be mindful of that. It's like they say, drink responsibly, use responsibly, because in a lot of ways, they're smarter than us. You know, like they've taken the time to actually study our behaviors and know just what to do without your conscience even picking up on it, right? Just show red and show yellow. Now you're hungry, right? Like it's all sorts of things that they have studied to get access to your heart and your decisions.
So, in other words, the Torah will set boundaries for the things that you will allow in, the things that you won't allow in. one who will emphasize that when you have overstepped those boundaries. It's like he was saying here, he put up Instagram, but after he got it, and taking a look at it, it was the Ruach in him saying, no, this is not for you. So in other words, you extended the boundaries somewhat, but then after the Ruach, from the Torah, the Ruach has told you this ain't for you, so now you have to reset that boundary so that you don't go past those certain things. So the Ruach and the Torah is like they work hand in hand. They're going to set certain boundaries for you, and the Ruach is going to make sure that you don't exceed past those boundaries.
All praises. So that's exactly the point, right? As one might say, well, Torah don't say I can't have an Instagram account. How's that a violation of his Torah, right? But then the Ruach is stepping in and saying, yeah, but you know you and I know you. Let's not do that, right? So, like, perfect example. All praises. So all of these are doors that give the heart an opportunity to store things, whether good or evil. So for instance, if you are around anger, your heart will begin to store anger. If you are around fools, your heart will store up foolishness. The same goes for wisdom and the like, right? So Proverbs 22:24, make no friendship with one given a wrath, and do not go with a man of rage, lest you learn his ways and find yourself ensnared, right? So you put yourself around it, your heart is going to pick up on things. Your mind is going to pick up on things whether you're conscious of it or not, right? This is just how it's designed. It's designed as a storehouse. So you got to be mindful of where you're storing your treasures, right? If you're storing your treasures on earth, that's where your heart is going to be, right? If you're storing your treasures heavenly matters, that's where your heart is going to be. So you had to be very, very mindful of where you, again, leading and directing your heart, where you set your heart. Proverbs 13:20, he who walks with the wise shall be wise. You surround yourself with wisdom, you're going to gain some wisdom, whether you want to or not, right? Now, that don't always mean that you're going to listen to the wisdom, but you'll gain something. Like, I can't tell you how many times that from being around people that were wiser than me, whether it been my father or others, right? Where I might not have got it in that moment, but like they say, just live a little bit, just keep on living. Like, you live a little bit and then you end up coming back to it like, oh, that's what that was about. I get it now, right? Set yourself around wisdom. You're going to pick some things up along the way. Whether or not you can put it to use in that moment, completely different thing. But you're going to pick up, your heart is going to naturally pick up and hold on to things. And in the moment when you need it, it'll be able to recall it if it's stored there. So, but the companion of fools suffers evil. So, hey, become a companion with fools and you might find yourself being foolish, right? I.e. Rehoboam and his friends, right? 1 Corinthians 15:33, do not be led astray. Evil company corrupts good habits, right? Bad company corrupts good morals. It's the natural order of how this works. This is how your heart is designed. It's designed to work that way. And it can work to our favor if we put in the right stuff in it, but it can work against us if we put in the wrong stuff in it. So now, we ain't, like I said, we dealing with self right now, but I want y'all to keep all of that in mind and think about the power of fellowship and how fellowship, you got all these things, you got Ruach, you got the conscience, you got Torah, you got all these things, but then on top of that, now there's an added benefit of fellowship with like-minded that's supposed to, again, strengthen you and help all the more, right? So the more the heart/mind comes in contact with something it enjoys or becomes used to, the more difficult it becomes for the heart to let it go, right? So now, I'm going to read this first. So Ephesians 4:26, be wroth, but do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your rage, nor give place to Hashatan or the devil. What is he telling us? The longer you let it sit there, the harder it's going to be to make it right. Because, again, the heart, it likes to hold on and store up things, whether good or bad. So the longer you let anger and rage stay in the storehouse, the more it's going to want to hold on to it. Let him who stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands what is good, so that he has somewhat to share with those in need. Let no corrupt word come out of your mouth, but only such as is good for the use of building up, so as to impart what is pleasant to the hearers. And do not grieve the set apart spirit of Elohim, by whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and displeasure and uproar and slander be put away from you, along with all evil. And be kind towards one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, as Elohim also forgave you in Mashiach. So it grows more attached through experience, through the use of neural pathways in the brain, the mind's ability to establish new connections is called neuroplasticity, right? So there's a diagram. It's kind of blurry, at least from where I'm sitting. There's a diagram there, or that's showing you some neural pathways, right? What do y'all see? See a brain and a couple eyeballs, right? The eyeballs is directly connected straight into the brain, right? Again, we talking about your mind or your heart. This is why it's designed in a way to where whatever comes through is getting direct access straight into your mind or your heart, right? So just, again, keep that in mind. So like I said, it grows more attached through experience, through the use of neural pathways in the brain. The mind's ability to establish new connections is called neuroplasticity. So the neuroplasticity part is where he's saying, hey, let him who stole steal no more. Start working. This is how we develop new habits, right? But we always say what? It's hard to break a habit, right? Okay. So neural pathways are essentially the brain's wiring, a network of connections between neurons that transmit information through the nervous system. So these pathways are crucial for everything from basic bodily functions to complex thoughts and behaviors, acting like highways for electrical and chemical signals. What are they? Neural pathways are formed by bundles of nerve fibers called axons that connect neurons. These connections, called synapses, allow neurons to communicate with each other by sending electrical and chemical signals. Neural pathways can be short, connecting neurons within a small area of the brain, or long, connecting different brain regions, or even the brain to the spinal cord. So, again, we're talking about oneness in yourself. If that balance gets off, do you think it can cause a conflict within yourself in achieving the oneness? If too much of the wrong stuff is coming through the eyes, you think it might make having oneness in yourself a little more challenging?
Exactly. If you harp on it or you continue to keep your mind focused on it, eventually it will.
All praises. Elder Kadosh.
I was just talking to my daughter a few weeks ago about this very thing, about how these reels and all these things that are played through these apps, how they create a dopamine, a feeling, a euphoric feeling within the brain. The brain is programmed for that 8-second dopamine high, and that definitely will cause conflict within you, because you have a physical side which is desiring this dopamine feeling, but then you have that ruach side which is saying deny this thing because it's not good for you.
All praises. So
It's much like a drug addict. A drug addict knows they have a problem, but because the physical aspect of it is so strong in them that the ruach or the
children are destroying their parents' houses and tearing things up and fighting and ready to kill one another, while children are killing each other over games and cell phones and access to this, that, and the other. You know, I just saw some kids fighting the other day. One had a phone, the other didn't have a phone. Then all of a sudden they was just battling because because one person wanted that phone more than that the other person had, simply because they want to get that fixed.
All praises. So your heart/mind is designed in a way, right? Like it's physically designed in a way. You put the wrong stuff in, it very well might take a liking to the wrong stuff, and now you got a problem, right? All praises. Learning and memory. So neural pathways are the foundation of learning. New experiences and information reshape these pathways, strengthening connections and creating new ones. Habits and behaviors. Repetitive actions and thoughts create stronger neural pathways. So again, going back to that, don't let the sun set on your wrath thing, right? The more you meditate on that thing, the harder it's going to be for you to let go of it, because this is just how the body is designed, right? Making those behaviors more automatic. So now, the more you do something, like we talked about this, the more you don't listen to your conscience, the more you don't listen to the Torah, right? The first time it might be like, okay, I'm about to go into the store and I'm about to steal this. And it's like the biggest, like, you scared, right? You looking over your shoulder, ain't nobody paying attention to you. You making yourself look more suspicious just because your conscience is letting you know, hey, yo, you messing up. It's just like Cain, right? Like, hey, well, when I leave here, these people gonna see me and they gonna kill me. And it's like, don't nobody know what you did? Who knows what you did? You thought didn't even the Most High know what you did. So the conscience, right? The more you don't listen to it, the easier it becomes to not hear it, right? Same with Torah, same with the Ruach. Sensory perception. Neural pathways transmit sensory information from our senses to the brain, allowing us to see, hear, smell, taste, and feel. Again, just pay attention to how interwoven your five senses are to your mind, right? Really keep that in, like, think about that. Motor control. Neural pathways control muscle movement, allowing us to walk, talk, and perform other physical actions. Emotional regulation. Neural pathways are involved in processing emotions and regulating our responses to stimuli. Cognitive functions. Neural pathways are essential for thinking, problem solving, and decision making. Some examples of neural pathways. Visual pathways, from the eyes to the visual cortex, allowing us to see. Again, you got a pathway directly from your eyes straight into your mind. Auditory pathways, from the ears to the auditory cortex, allowing us to hear. You got a direct door going straight from your ears directly into your mind. Motor pathways, from the brain to the muscles, allowing for movement. Again, direct pathway. Sense of touch. Dopaminergic pathways is what Elder was just talking about, involved in reward, motivation, and movement. So you got a section in your brain that's like designed that the more it gets stimulated, the more it's gonna want to hold on to it, right? Like that's how that whole, and then when you activate that part, the dopamine activates, like it shuts off the other more logical parts of your brain. So again, when we're talking about your mind, your heart, and how it's designed and why it's deceitful above all things, why it works the way that it works, like no, it's designed in a certain way that certain things take place in the background that we're not even paying attention to, that this is just how it's designed. That's why you got to be that much more mindful of what goes in through these doors. Then it says the arcuate fasciculus, it connects language areas in the brain. And then like they've done, you can, if you was to get operated on and they snip a certain part of your brain, like it can completely mess up that whole region. So now, like, say for instance, certain people that are victims of stroke, right? Like you have a stroke, and then that part of the brain, now they might understand what you're saying, but the region that's responsible, which is a separate region of the brain that's responsible for making speech, they might have an issue there, right? So like, again, we talking about how the mind works, all these things that are going into your heart and how it's designed. The more we can understand how it's made, the better we'll be able to manage it.
And like what you were saying with the auditory pathways, that even happens like in your sleep. Because I remember when I was pregnant with my oldest, I used to watch, what's that channel, the ID channel, when they be like,
Oh yeah, the murder stories and all of that stuff. Yeah.
And I had went to sleep watching that pregnant, and I woke up like sweating and out of breath. Like I had a dream that I don't know. I guess my brain put me in one of those scenarios. And then when I woke up, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna watch this anymore. And I had to cut the Bible on to like calm down.
All praises, and I bet it worked too. All praises.
And what you was talking about, the spiritual attack is to the point now that I did a training on hydration, diuretics, for work, telling people what they literally engineered Coca-Cola in increments of 15 minutes. So after you consume this beverage, after 15 minutes, this is what it's going to do. After 30 minutes, this is what it's going to do. In about 45 minutes, you're going to start crashing out and desiring another one. And releasing that dopamine effect where you want it again. And it's too, like, anytime he's talking around a smartphone, they have it where it picks up. Even if you shut off the audio and or you don't like using the speaker or the eye, it's picking up image after image. It's just part of the engineering, and you sell it off.
Straight up. Can't tell you how many times I had a conversation about something, open up YouTube, and then there it is. Like, and then make matters worse, if you're not aware of it, you'll be sitting there like, man, this was the Most High. It was meant for me to see this. Like, no, they just been listening. They manipulating you, So like, rewiring neural pathways. The good thing about it is that all hope ain't lost, right? With some effort and intention, you can rewire the stuff that gets messed up, right? So the brain is remarkably adaptable and can change its neural pathways throughout life, a process called neuroplasticity. By engaging in new activities, learning new skills, and practicing new behaviors, we can strengthen existing neural pathways and even create new ones. So this ability to rewire the brain is crucial for recovery from injury, overcoming bad habits, and improving cognitive function.
Salakia, I just got to get my own testimony when it comes to this particular aspect. As someone who had smoked cigarettes for 31 years, that became not just a mental thing, it became a physical thing, and it literally takes you turning to other things to try to put this thing behind you
All praises. All praises. Like, again, the more that we can gain understanding on how this thing works, it's like what Mashai used to say, like, man, if we could just figure out the controls, like, the easier it'll become for us to, with some intention and some thought, to get out ahead of it. You know what I mean? And to keep it tame. So what I want us to see is that at the core of the battle within us is the heart/mind.
Just to line back on what my brother was saying about, your brain is like a computer. Garbage in, it's gonna be garbage out.
Mm-hmm.
So even in your subconscious, sometimes can reflect some things of you that is not transparent until you start functioning. Just like I used to, when I used to watch TV, I used to like watch a lot of murder mysteries and things of that nature, right? But now I'm opposed to it. You know what I mean? Because I don't want that mindset of sitting there watching that, and you continuously watch it. It's gonna be part of you, your whole demeanor at some point in time, even in your subconscious. Just like if you go to sleep with the TV on, and it's loud enough for that to sink into your subconscious, right? And not knowing it, you find yourself being conscious of it, doing things that you normally wouldn't even think about doing or wanting to do. So, like I said, garbage in is going to be garbage out. So the more of the Father that you take in you, it's going to be more apparent in you in your walk.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be careful what you're taking in. You got to be conscious of it.
Absolutely. All praises.
Just gonna add and with that, the brain being powerful, it remembers what you feed it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like if when you are working on rewiring and creating new habits, you literally have to consistently do it. Otherwise, it's just gonna go back to what it remembers, how you trained it to, how you train it to be. So it literally is like consistency, being diligent, staying the course, and not giving up. Just keep at it, keep at it. Eventually, it will be an old memory of what you used to do, and now you form this new pathway, this new connection. That's literally how it works in our brains. We don't see it that way, but that's what it's doing. So it's literally, you gotta be consistent. Same with Torah, like. Now, well, it's easy for a lot of us because we are walking out. It's a lifestyle for us. But remember, maybe like when we first started doing it, it wasn't that easy. It was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, this is easy. This is my lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
because you're doing it over and over again. It's the same with habits or whatever you're trying to break
Mm-hmm.
or continue. Just gotta keep doing it, and eventually your brain will get it because it's gonna do what you feed it.
Mm-hmm. Again, your heart, your mind is a storehouse. Like wherever direction you lead it is the direction it's going to start going. But what happens a lot of times is we're not cognizant of all that we putting in it through the five senses, and so then we getting a mixture of things, and then that's why we getting a mixture of things that's coming out. So what I want us to see is that at the core of the battle within is the heart/mind. The conscience, the Torah, and the spirit work together as a monitoring system to filter what comes in and what comes out of the heart. So these three work together as a check and balance to try to govern the heart. Again, like I said, I'm using the term heart as your mind, your and we just saw how your brain is designed. This is how this thing works. So even with this, the heart is still difficult to tame at times. Remember, the heart/mind likes to hold on to things, whether good or bad. So because of this, it has certain defense mechanisms to protect what it has. So now this is where we're getting into these defense mechanisms, right? the things that you pick up along the way, the heart wants to hold on to it, whether it's good or bad. And anything that challenges what is stored up, you might have to deal with some defense mechanisms, right? And some of those are not good. So the thing of it is that you can ignore your conscience. You can turn your ears from hearing the Torah, right? Deuteronomy 30 and 11 through 20. And we know what happens. What is he says, when you turn your ears from hearing it, you turned your heart from him, right? Heart is just going to follow. And you can quench the Ruach. You can ignore the Ruach, right? Ignoring these is how the heart can become hardened and the conscience can become seared. So the heart can become hardened by means of justification and rationalization, right? So that's one of those defense mechanisms. It's going to try to make a way to hold on to what is stored, what is picked up, whether it's good or bad. So rationalization. So rationalization is a psychological defense mechanism where individuals unconsciously or consciously offer logical or seemingly plausible explanations to justify behaviors, attitudes, or feelings that might otherwise be unacceptable or cause feelings of guilt, shame, or anxiety. It serves to protect one's self-esteem and reduce the discomfort associated with cognitive dissonance. Remember, we talked about cognitive dissonance a couple weeks ago. The mental discomfort of holding conflicting beliefs or attitudes. So how rationalization works: uncomfortable feeling or behavior. An individual experiences a feeling or engages in a behavior that triggers anxiety or goes against their self-image. That's the cognitive dissonance, right? So you got to do something to deal with the cognitive dissonance. Here's where the rationalization comes in: creating a logical explanation. So to alleviate this discomfort, they can construct an explanation that makes the feeling or behavior seem reasonable or justified. This explanation may or may not be the actual reason or motivation. Reduce discomfort. That's the goal. Because the way that your mind is designed, just like how they figured out, like Oxty was bringing out with this stuff is designed in 15-minute increments so that you're going to want to keep having it. And if you say no, some discomfort might come, right? Right? Like, just like Elder was bringing out, they designed these 8-second reels. So they designed it. Like, it wasn't always this way. They saw like, oh no, this works. We can tap into that. So now then next thing you know, every platform got shorts. They push those more than they push the long form videos where you actually gonna get information. They just want to give you the tidbit because they know it ain't even about the information. They know with the shorter video, you're gonna be on the platform even longer because you're just gonna keep hitting. Everything about you wants to be in a state of rest, shalom, right? Ease. And the way that your mind is designed is designed in a way that it will go through whatever means to try to get to that for the moment. Now, that don't always mean that it's for the long the long run, right? Like, when we thinking about the future, sometimes that means go endure through discomfort momentarily so that I can get there. But like I said, it's like J.G. Wentworth. Like, I want it now. Mind of Esau, what good is the birthright, right? So the question is, have you ever found yourself rationalizing your behaviors or beliefs, but the real reason was you just didn't want to make a change in either your beliefs or behaviors? Y'all ain't got to answer it. I know I ain't none of y'all. I speak for me, myself. Yes, I done been there. Like, your mind, again, is a storehouse. It's designed and is made in a way to where what it picks up, it's going to want to hold on to it. And at that point, it's not even about whether it's right or it's wrong. It's just about, I don't want to feel uncomfortable. And anything that's going to make me feel uncomfortable, I got to reject that, right? But then when we're talking about how your conscience, the Torah, and the Ruach might be convicting you to try to get you to change. Now we see how we're going to be dealing with some issues, right? Now here comes the defense mechanism, because I need this so that I can continue to go on about my day without having to deal with the feeling of something weighing on my conscience, right? Some examples. A student who fails an exam might attribute it to an unfair professor or a difficult test instead of acknowledging a lack of study. Now, I want to preface this by saying the professor might be unfair, and the test might have been a difficult test, but that still is not the root and has nothing to do with why you failed it, right? So what happens is, this is how rationalization works. Sometimes, like, it might be way off, but sometimes it might be valid points in it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it should be applied for your situation. Testimony. 2 weeks ago, I got a ticket. Now, I'm riding down the street going to the grocery store. My arm is on the center console, and I just got my phone in my hand like this because it's a habit. Like, I'm not on it. It's just in my hand. It's the 4th of July, so, you know, they out. And I mean, and they was competing too. Like, I saw they was all on the motorcycles, right? So I saw the one pull out and get somebody, and like soon as he pulled out, the dude that pulled me over, he pulled out. Like, they was having a little competition or whatever was going on. I don't know. Got pulled over. Now I'm heated, right? The reality of it is, yeah, I was violating this quote unquote law. Now, yeah, you ain't got to do that. You ain't got to be petty like this. And I know, yeah, you being extra. But at the same time, I really can't get mad at him. The person that look in the mirror is me, and to say, all right, from here on, let me make sure that I got the mount right there hanging in the car. Like, from here on, let me make sure that the phone is on the mount, right? If I'm holding myself accountable, she was holding me accountable. Did I like it in the moment? No. But the truth is the truth. The reality of it is that if I didn't give him a reason to pull me over, I wouldn't have got pulled over, right? Even though, yeah, it's petty. Even though, yeah, you thirsty and you looking, like, all of those things are true. But the thing that's also true is none of that has anything to do with me getting pulled over, because it is in the law, right? He wasn't being unjust. That is the law. So it's not unfair what he did, even though he was on what he was on. Like, so bad to the point, dude walks up to the window. I had to ask him, why did you pull me over? Like, he was just like, license, because he's trying to hurry up and get back to his post so he can pull somebody else over. Like license, pull out my license. Actually, I already had it pulled out because that's just one of them things, you know, I don't be fumbling around in my pockets while they right there. So I'm looking straight ahead because I'm mad. Hand him my license. And he's like, what year is this car? Tell him that. And then he's like, just about to start walking off. I'm like, are you going to tell me why you pulled me over? He's like, yeah, you about to get cited for. So his mind was already made up, like, before and that made me even more mad. But the reality of it is I'm using his pettiness as a rationalization why I shouldn't have got pulled over, when really and truly that is the law. I should have. So, again, Mike, Sis D.
I have a testimony as well. Like, what you were saying about rationalizing your behaviors, I've definitely been there. And I remember me and Steve, this was like the beginning of our relationship. We had just went over the dietary laws. We had just like had a study on it, like probably like 2 days before. And I went to a pool party with my family, and they had crabs. And so I was like, okay, maybe if I just eat one. I ended up eating 3, and I was cracking the third one over. I was running to the bathroom. I was so sick, throwing up everywhere. I was like, okay, I hear you. I'm not gonna eat it no more. I hear it.
All praises. All praises. Like, definitely been there. Like, definitely have been there. There was a situation with a ham, and my conscience was like messing with me the whole time, but I still ended up rationalizing it, right? Like, well, she done took all this time making it. I don't want to be. It is in the word, like, just accept what they give you with thanksgiving. So, all right. But soon as the sun set that night, like riding back home in the car, I said, never again. Like, we not doing that ever again. Cause my conscience, like, is letting me know you done messed up. Like, I couldn't let it go. I couldn't shake it. Like, that wasn't the right decision to make. Like, I made the wrong decision, like, sure enough, never again. And that was a long time ago. But I say all that to say that, yeah, rationalization is a real thing. You got something up? Oh.
Sometimes Yah will actually, your body will remind you not to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I know I haven't eaten any pork in 20 or 30 years, and somebody had snuck something on me, and I was like, later on, an hour or two after that, I was like, something wrong with me, man. Now I'm running back and forth to the bathroom. Then I have to ask him, man, did you have some? And which probably is my fault that I didn't inquire. If you don't know, ask.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, no wonder I'm feeling all, running back and forth to the bathroom. So it can hurt. It can acknowledge to you mentally and physically.
Mm-hmm.
To like, I'll never do this again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way y'all sometimes, can hit you in the head a little bit, and let you know that, hey, don't be more careful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. That's what I was saying. That day I ate it, and that's when I came home and was like, huh? Yeah, no, I came home that day, and that's when I was like, nah, never again, because I did make the wrong choice that day.
So I had that same, I got peer pressured into it. I can remember the exact day. Everything just happened. Most High just, okay, all right. So it was a Canelo versus Cotto boxing fight, 2016, Tampa, Florida. My boy, he's Puerto Ricans versus Mexicans, and we go to the barbecue, and they did this traditional Puerto Rican dish, and it's all 100% pork. It don't look like pork. You dip your chip in it, you eat it, and so I was like, nah, man, I don't eat pork. Nah, man, I don't eat pork. No, man. So end of the night, I ended up eating her just to shut him up. I'm not even lying, man. I left. I had an Escalade at the time. I drank a little bit, and this thing my transmission ended up failing right in front of the red light of the police department, and it started raining. It started raining heavily. If you know how it rains down in Florida, you already know. So police just behind me was like, oh, this is a wrap. This is a wrap. I shouldn't have ate that. And I ended up pushing it. Another guy helped me push it, the truck, into the police department parking lot. So, yeah, never again.
All praises, like, told out for the Father that he's mindful enough to watch us, because nobody wants us to make it in more than he does. Like, he want to see us in there more than we do for ourselves. So, yeah, all praises. Go ahead.
Like the elder said, we have to be very careful, because sometimes it's not intentional. Sometimes it's, the enemy will sneak in there. And in my experience, that happened to me. This has probably been like 4 years ago. I went through a drive-through. It was Dairy Queen, and they had this turkey sandwich that had bacon on it. And so naturally, I'm going to ask for the sandwich minus the bacon. So I know I specifically said that in the window in the drive-through. So when I got my sandwich, I just said, well, I'm sure, I wasn't thinking. It was just like I wasn't thinking about it, because I know what I told them.
Mm-hmm.
So I start biting into it, and sure enough, they put bacon in it.
Mm-hmm.
I was so furious. I mean, I went back through that line, and I told them. They didn't understand why I was so upset. But I told them, I said, I don't eat pork. And I said, you don't realize what you did. I mean, how could you make this mistake? I I was livid. But, I don't know how the Most High would judge that. He knew I didn't know, but I should have looked. I should have looked just in case.
So the thing with that is, I'll give an example that we see in the scriptures, right? Like the Father is definitely just. So like he will, was that Abimelech with Abraham when he took Sarah, right? Now Abraham told him, oh no, that's my sister, right? So as far as he's concerned, hey, I didn't know, right? Father came, gave him a warning and said, hey, look, the only reason why I'm telling you this is because I know you didn't know. But here's what you need to do from here on, right? So, like, that's the thing. Like, the conscience is really something that's designed when you make a decision or make a choice against something that you know better than. Conscience really isn't something that is there for an unknowing thing. That's what Numbers 15 is about, right? Like Numbers 15, if you sin unaware, right, and it wasn't something that was presumptuously done, then there's always a sacrifice. There was always forgiveness for that, a way to gain atonement for that, right? It's just when we willfully go into it knowing, that's where it becomes a problem. But outside of that, like, no, he's merciful, he's just, he's forgiving, he's all of those things. So yeah.
In one of my scenarios with the pork, I had turned away from pork, and 10 years had went by, and I'm thinking I'm doing good. I realized towards the end, when he started awakening me towards it, I realized that I was still buying like lunch meat, hot dogs and stuff that it said beef and chicken, but it had a little bit of pork in it. And I was still asleep, in some areas, and I'm like, okay, but it's not pork, so we good. So I didn't focus on pork. It was like, it says beef and chicken. But I was just wondering, like, all that time, and you just now waking me up to realizing that I still was eating pork. And I'm trying to figure out why so long. That's because he was getting my attention towards other things that I was doing within my diet. Like, my favorite salak is the truth. Used to drink out of crabs, shrimp, oyster, we was just still doing all of that. And he like, it's still filthy, so I have to, get your attention. It's so deep. I did not know that the diet is the tell-all be-all. How a person is in general. Eating dirty, you're just dirty. Regardless. A lot of variants. But I can go on.
All praises.
Praise that he got my attention.
All praises. Like, that's the thing. Like I said, there's so many things that the Father will do in his mercy and his compassion that, like, it's says that he winks at our ignorance for a season, right? Like, there's a lot of things that he's willing to prioritize, like, even when they left out of Egypt. Like, nah, I could take you this way, but let me take this long route just to give you some extra time so that you don't cut yourself out before we get there, right? Like, his mercy it works that way. So yeah, absolutely. All praises. So, example of rationalization, and then we're going to get out of here. 1 Samuel 15:1. We know this story. It says, and Samuel said to Shaul, Yahuwah sent me to anoint you king over his people, over Israel. And now listen to the words of Yahuwah. Thus said Yahuwah of hosts, I shall punish Amalek for what he did to Israel, how he set himself against him on the way when he came up from Mizraim. Now go, and you shall strike Amalek and put under the ban all that he has, and you shall not spare them, and put to death from man to woman, from infant to nursing child, from ox to sheep, from camel to donkey. So what was the instruction? Kill everything. Right? Don't leave nothing. Verse 9, it says, but Shaul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep and the cattle and the fatlings and the lambs, and all that was good, good to who? All that was good, and would not put them under the ban. But all goods despised and worthless to who? That they put under the ban. And the word of Yahuwah came to Samuel, saying, I am grieved that I have set up Shaul as king, for he has turned back from following me and has not performed my words. And it displeased Samuel, and he cried to Yahuwah all night. And Samuel rose early in the morning to meet Shaul or Saul, and it was told to Samuel, saying, Shaul went to Carmel, and see, he has set up a monument for who? For himself. Then turned and passed over and went down to Gilgal. So already what are we seeing? We seeing he was given an instruction. He was told what the right thing was to do. But because something is off already in his heart, you see how that thing is governing how he's moving. Now, again, like we said, your eyes, like all of this is it direct access straight to the heart, in and out, right? So when they saw that this stuff was, well, hold on, ain't nothing wrong with these. It kind of changed. If everything was worthless, they would have been obedient to the command and they would have just killed everything. But because something was pleasing in their eyes, and it changed how he moved. Another motivation is working underneath this, right? His own pride. He set himself up an altar. Somewhere in there, why he's moving the way that he's moving, it has something to do with him trying to gain the approval of the people that's following him, right? Might not necessarily be an explicit thing, but it's working in the background and it's going to start to influence how he's moving. Well, it says, and Samuel came to Shaul, and Shaul said to him, Blessed are you of Yahuwah. I have performed the word of Yahuwah. Now, did he do that? He didn't perform the word that came from the Father. He did what he wanted to do. But you see how he just rationalize in his mind that he good. He didn't even wait for the man to ask him. He came out and offered up this information. I did what he told me to do. That lets you know that the process of rationalization has already happened. He done already had that conversation with his own conscience, knowing that he messed up and he had to make it right in his own head. But Samuel said, What then is this bleating of sheep in my ears and the lowing of the cattle which I hear? And Shaul said, They have brought them from Amalek, because the people spared the best of the sheep and the cattle to slaughter to Yahuwah your Elohim, and the rest we have put under the ban. So now we starting to see what the motivation is, right? He built the altar for who? Himself. So in order for these people to look at me like I'm the man, right? Let me let them do what they want to do. Because if I don't, they're going to turn against me. And Samuel said to Shaul, Wait, and let me declare to you what Yahuwah said to me last night. And he said to him, Speak. And Samuel said, Though you were little in your own eyes, were you not the head of the tribes of Israel? And did not Yahuwah anoint you king over Israel? And Yahuwah sent you on the way and said, Go, and you shall put under the ban the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they are consumed. And why did you not obey the voice of Yahuwah, but swoop down on the spoil, and did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah? And Shaul said to Samuel, I did obey the voice of Yahuwah. So you see how he's rationalizing and justifying what he did, because he partly did it. Right? Now, that's the thing that's dangerous is sometimes we can find ourselves in that same set of shoes, right? I mean, I did 80% of what he asked me to do. And so now I'm just going to overlook the other 20 that I completely neglected and completely messed up. But it don't work like that with the Father, right? On a side note, has anybody? I ain't gonna ask y'all, cause I know y'all. Nobody in here. Have y'all ever seen somebody? I put it like that. Get into an argument with somebody, and then instead of the issue getting dealt with, they kind of like will switch track and start to bring up the things that they do good. All praises, right? Like I know I'm not the only one with a heart and with a mind that kind of does certain stuff on autopilot, right? Like you really got to be conscious and cognizant of how you moving, because naturally the heart wants to do what? It wants to store up things, and once it's stored it up, it don't want to let it go, whether right or wrong. How many times does that happen? This is exactly what he's doing, right? Well, the things I did right, I mean, he passed me them things, we got them. Look at how many people we killed. But that's not enough, because that wasn't what he was told to do, right? So it says, in verse 19, and why did you not obey the voice of Yahuwah, but swooped down on the spoil and did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah? And Shaul said to Samuel, I did obey the voice of Yahuwah, and I went on the way on which Yahuwah sent me, and brought back Agag, king of Amalek, and I put Amalek under the ban. So you see how he just said two things that contradict one another, but he said it like they was the same thing. Well, I did put Amalek under the ban. I did what he told me to do, but I took the king, the most important person over there. I took the king and I let him live. But you see how he's rationalized it, right? (21) But the people took the spoil of the sheep and cattle, the best of that which should have been put under the ban, to slaughter to Yahuwah your Elohim in Gilgal. Then Samuel said, does Yahuwah delight in the sending offerings and slaughterings as in obeying the voice of Yahuwah? Look, to obey is better than an offering or a sacrifice. To heed is better than the fat of rams, for rebellion is as the sin of divination, and stubbornness is as wickedness and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of Yahuwah, he also does reject you as king. Jumping down to verse 30, again, looking at some of this motivation, why he's moving the way that he's moving. He says, then he said, I have sinned, but esteem me now. Glorify me in front of these people, before the elders of my people and before Israel, and return with me, and I shall bow myself to Yahuwah your Elohim. So again, you see what really was the motivating factor the whole time, whether he realized it or not.
But the part I really want to point out is just like you said a little earlier, where he had built a monument to himself, and now he's saying that I shall bow myself to your Elohim.
Mm-hmm.
Like Yahuwah wasn't the one that put him in that place. You know, it was like he's placed himself above Yahuwah, his own rules and regulations. Even I gave him what he asked for, but this is what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he was doing a lot of justification, and verse 23 really it just equates to that. It's just a form of rebellion. And when you think of how the Most High sees rebellion is as sin as witchcraft. A lot of times people don't even, they think they got to be in some ritual or seance or sorcery or anything that's connected to witchcraft to be a part of witchcraft. No, your rebellion, your stubbornness, your disobedience, all that's considered witchcraft, because that's how the Most High sees it. So it's, it's a bad disposition. Disobedience is just a bad disposition overall.
All praises.
And it seems as if he didn't want to even take responsibility for it. Because he said, the people told me about,
All praises. So like we see how this process can work within us, and like your mind naturally wants to do that, right? Like your mind naturally, and if it's not that defense mechanism, it's another one that is specific to you that might work better for you, right? Like we have all sorts of things that's built into how this thing works and operates that can really get us in trouble if we're not paying attention to it and leading it in a certain way. So yeah, with that being said, hopefully we got some stuff to think about. Like I don't know if my time is up for now. We'll talk about it, but the next time that y'all see me, we'll pick back up where we left off, and we'll start digging more into how rationalization works, and then we'll dig a little bit more into like the hardened heart, like what a conscience has been seared, right? So like we got examples like Pharaoh. Like really, what was going on here? You ask yourself, like, man, how he done seen all these plagues, like he done suffered through all these plagues, and then he's still rationalizing it in his mind to keep doing what he's doing, right? Like at that point, he's just an autopilot. Even his own people done turned on him and said, surely this is of Elohim. Like we can't do this. Like surely, like you ain't gonna stop. And you're like, nah. It's like, how do you get to that point? And Pharaoh ain't the only person that can get to that point. Like that's something that's common to all of us if we walk in them shoes. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah. Did you?
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, were you, whenever you do go into the next lesson, examples that are like now examples? Because many of us can look at like the easier identify examples from like, you know, back then or whatever, and we think, oh, we're fine, we're not rationalizing anymore, but you literally think about, okay, what am I rationalizing now? Like, what is it in me? Like today, now, you know what I mean? That's what I was going to ask you. Like, if you're going to go to more like personal examples of how we might rationalize in our walk today, even knowing Torah, knowing our Yahuwah, knowing what's right, knowing what's wrong, are you still rationalizing? You know, what are the examples that we can really look at and think about? Because you can say, oh, you know, back in the day, but what about now? That's what I was going to say.
All praises. Yeah, excellent question. I think we could do that.
Speaking of when she's talking about rationalizing, even with myself, when I start to fit right now, if I start justifying, rationalizing, and putting up defense mechanisms, I know within myself that I'm dead wrong. So once I start doing that, I'm like, yeah, I'm wrong.
All praises. Like I'm right there with you. Like that's usually one of those things for me that tells me, like just across the board with anything, like, yeah, it's probably me. Like it's probably my conscience trying to tell me something, and then now I'm putting up a defense mechanism because I got to deal with the cognitive dissonance, the discomfort that my conscience is not on one accord with something that I believe.
I mean, where I rationalize in my life is, oh man, I only drink on the weekends, you know, and then I have a whole day, I gotta recoup, gotta sit in the sauna, I'm dehydrated, and I'm feeling it physically. And it throws me back behind the week, you know.
Mm-hmm. All praises. Like we have so many different things that we can do to rationalize a thought, action, or behavior. Just like I said, the heart, your mind is like a storehouse, and what it gets, it don't want to let go of it. So it's gonna look for a way to try to make it make sense in it within you. You know what I mean? And the answer oftentimes is, you know, okay, well, what does Torah say? What is the Ruach leading me to do? But the problem is that, again, because the heart is deceitful above all things, it's going to look for a way to try to convince you that, no, is this really what the Ruach is saying? is this really what the Torah is saying? Do I really have to? And then that's when you go through that whole process. So, yeah. You had something out? All praises. So, yeah, absolutely.
But in every temptation, he said he will make a way of escape. So we are fooling ourselves, trying to justify, rationalize. You're deceiving yourself. Because he's, I don't know, some people must think the Most High is, dumb. Like he a dumb God or something. And he knows us better than we know ourselves. So stop fooling yourself.
All praises, absolutely. Like, that's an excellent point. Like we were saying in the beginning of the series, like nothing is so hard and so difficult that we can't do it. Like he's just, so he's not expecting or asking anything out of us that we can't do. Like that's definitely not what the case is, but we got to be willing to apply ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, like I said, that's the goal of these lessons. I know some of them might seem like a little bit slow paced, but I'm really trying to walk through it. Because like I said, the more that we can understand how this thing works, the better chance we got at finding that oneness and getting where we're supposed to be. Like, and it's so many things. Like we just scratching on the, not even scratching on the surface, the tip of the iceberg of the way that the mind works. Like there are so many things that are built into it, and then it's somebody out there that can explain it 100 million times better than I can. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a neurosurgeon or anything like that. So like it's so many things of how this thing works that you really gotta do your best to get ahead of it, because it's so many things, just like breathing. Like your mind will do so much stuff just because it's operating it in the background. Like you don't even have to acknowledge that. Like, you know what I mean? Like it'll just do a lot of stuff automatically, and especially if it's a habit. Like once a habit is formed, then now it's just you just moving how you move, and you didn't even think anything about it, but that don't necessarily mean that it's right. And so, yeah. So if we're all striving to try to be, one with Elohim, which the first step of that is we got to get one within ourselves. And then now that we can be one within ourselves and stay consistent in what it is that we say we believe. It's like I always say, like, even if you go back to the garden, right? If Eve even just had oneness within herself and she did what she said, right? Like she said out of her own mouth, we shouldn't touch it or like eat it. Right? Now the command was don't eat from it. But she said even herself, we shouldn't eat it or even touch it. If she would have just stayed consistent in what it was that she believed, she still would have been protected and preserved in that. Like, but because she didn't even have oneness in herself with what she believed in that moment, then here it is, doorway straight to the heart and through those eyes. And now the serpent, you don't hear nothing else from that point. He didn't have to say nothing else. He just gone, right? Like he just did. She turned to her husband who was with her, and it had to have been in him, like it had to be, because it doesn't seem like they fought and there was a whole lot of convincing that had to take place. It just seemed like he took it and he was like, all right, cool. So like that's how he did his job. Like he sowed the seed, and then once the seed is planted in your heart, it can. If it has the right environment, whatever was planted, it will sprout up and it's going to grow and take over.
For the sake of time, I just want to give a scripture.
All praises.
You can, touch on it if you want to. I don't gotta break it down. You can touch on it. Matthew chapter 5.
All praises.
27, like 29.
Go ahead. Yeah, I can't put it up on the screen, but yeah, all praises. Yep.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse
because ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, Thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. Verse 29, and if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out, and cast it from thee, for it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. Verse 30, and if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off, and cast it from thee, for it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell.
All praises. Did you have anything you wanted to add to it before? All praises. But no, like that's definitely the gist of it, is you got to be mindful of those doors, like I said, and you are better off closing the door before you think you're going to be able to hold on to it and still enter in. It's not going to work that way. So, like, definitely, again, just be mindful what comes through your eyes, what you put your hands to, what you allow through your ears, because the thing about it is the heart it almost has a mind of its own. Like your mind almost has a mind of its own, if that can make sense. So definitely guard it, and if you find something that don't belong, you better off getting rid of it than walking in, rationalizing, justifying it, right? Like, because in each of those scenarios, somebody has a justification with why they did what they did, right? Like, you can go down the list. So, yeah, for sure, for sure. Y'all got anything else? Because if not, I'm told me old. All praises. Well, like I said, next time y'all see me, we'll dig in a little bit more, and I will be mindful to try to make it applicable, because that's the goal of all of these things. Like, we've been information gathering, but the fact of it is that we need to be able to take what we learn in and apply it, and we got to be able to see ourselves in it. So, yeah, we'll try to focus on that, going in that direction. Mm-hmm.
Once again, thank the Father for giving the Ak another message that's going to get his people on oneness, a mindset of learning. Because once we learn how our body actually functions, and we have once you have an understanding of how an engine runs, I need to make sure I put oil in it. So once we learn how our body functions, then we'll start, okay, I need to be more, my mind is more conscious, even when it comes to, do I want to eat, as Ox said, pork chop or chicken? You know, it becomes, I'm going to take the chicken because I understand what, not only is in the Torah, but I know what this pork is going to do to my body. Title was Oneness. Ak brought up a good scripture, because I was thinking of, when we talk about rationalization, I was thinking of math. That's probably why I stuttered. I was like, this is a math problem. But when you think about math, you're dealing with fractions. And when Ak brought up, far as, hey, if that I, pluck that out so that whatever's remaining is still whole. And you can't go before the Father fractured. You can't have fractions. So it can't be, well, I destroyed this, but I didn't do this. I obeyed you in this, but I still left a fraction over here of what I did not do. The Father wants us to be whole. Oneness. our bodies, oneness. I can't be eating, I'm not eating pork bacon, but yet I'm still eating shrimp and crabs. The Father wants us, and we can't rationalize it. I mean, we can't rationalize sin. We can't rationalize, I mean, when it comes to the salvation walk, the song was like 99 and a half won't do. It's going to be that fraction. We're still dealing with oneness, wholeness. The Father deals with wholeness, not. So let's just be, just make sure that I want to be whole. A fractured person can't, it's kind of hard. Because you're warring, there's pieces that want to do right, but then you get other pieces, the hand wants to steal, and so it's now you're talking about, now we're still talking about math. I'm really like, nightmares. Now we're talking about division and dividing. But I just thank y'all for a beautiful teaching. Let us just learn the oneness and becoming oneness with ourselves. Once again, we just came out of the spring feast, and we was talking about examining ourselves, but it's not even slow. We're fastly approaching the 7th month. And once again, where are you going to be at when the trumpet blows? Are you going to be fractured, or are you going to be whole, ready? Are you going to have to, well, I need this 10 days to get my garments together so I can get right and for atonement. So let's just continue to make sure that we're whole. No matter what comes our way, make sure that especially with our brain, our mind, I mean, that's where we discussed today. This is the battle. So let us make sure that we're not fractured. Yes, sir.
I was just sitting there thinking about when you was talking about the fractions, and then he was talking about the division. When you look at a fraction, it is actually a division problem. It's an issue of dividing and coming up with a solution. But you cannot be divided when it comes to walking with the Most High. You're either in or you're out. There's no in between. He does not play. He don't play fractions. As your father used to say all the time, he said, I don't want. He said, I'm a dad. I don't want weekend visits. I want full custody. And this is how the Most High looks at us. He wants us to make the choice to be with Him and Him only, and leaving all those other things behind. A division problem is no good if there's always a remainder.
And this to land back on that reminds me in Revelations where when the Messiah went to 7 different churches, and out of all the 7 churches, they only found 2 that were desirable to him. And each one of the other ones, he talked about there are some, you did this and you did that, but these are a few things that exactly I got an issue with. So it's still fractions. And you got to be whole. You got to be whole.
It's the little foxes that spoils the vine. And over in Revelation also, he said if you lukewarm, he's going to spit you out anyway. You got to be either hot or cold. He have more respect for you if you make a choice than to be on that fence that the devil owns.
All right, hallelujah. So, the Most High deals with oneness. One Elohim, Yahuwah is he's who we